Hi, thanks. We're back for part two with Miss Noreen. And Noreen was just telling us about some of the things that you can expect primarily with the housing here. I'll tell you this before we go further. What I've discovered with the housing, because we have been looking at some places, like she said, they're much smaller. They're not always up to the standards you would expect. The work sometimes I've noticed can be shoddy. I've also noticed some of the work is not complete, and they expect the buyer to complete it. Something as simple as putting rods in a closet. They kind of leave those kind of things. The buyer can put the rods up, or curtain rods up. I expect you to put that up for me, or nice faucets, those kinds of things. So just little things, but you just need to be prepared for that because that's something you'll have to deal with. You okay? So anyway, I'm going to ask Noreen to tell us. I told you she's lived every place. She speaks several languages, which is a plus. That's something else. Let me just throw this in. I think all parents and grandparents should somehow insist on the school system, wherever you are, public school system. Our children should have the option of learning a second language starting in kindergarten because that's when kids are little sponges and they can pick it up right away, okay? So ask your school system, why can't you have a foreign language taught in the public school system as soon as the children go into a classroom, okay? All right, Noreen, sorry. So I know Noreen has lived in Germany, I believe, Spain,
Yes.
Portugal, I think.
No,
Not Portugal. But anyway, just tell us about how you got some of those places, Noreen.
Okay, well, I tell you, I was working in New York, and that's where I was born, so I had been there for many years. And I was working for the airlines, and it was during the time, so we can relate to this now because we're having a second oil crisis. But that was long ago when we had the first oil crisis. So what happened was, I was working for United Airlines at the time, and they decided to do a reduction in force, which means laying people off. So I lost a good job with the airlines, and I was a little bit lost. I didn't know what to do because I had bought a house a couple of years before, and the expenses were more than I had expected. And so now suddenly I don't have a job. So I go to a temporary job. I go to Tiffany's. I get a job at Tiffany's, which I thought was wonderful, and enjoyed that. But at a certain point, I decided that I sold that house, and I sold it at a good amount of money. So I had some time, energy, and I wasn't wed to the job in Tiffany because I couldn't rise very far there because they had a whole thing about black people in Tiffany's. So, and I was at as far as I could go there, so I wasn't going to get anything more. So I thought, time to go, time to investigate. Now, I had worked for the airlines prior, so for Eastern Airlines, actually, the now defunct Eastern Airline. So I still had some connections, and I decided that I would go to Germany. I had a girlfriend, a Puerto Rican girlfriend that grew up in New York, and so she was over there, and I decided to support her. So I went over for a couple of different vacations, and then decided at this point, at that juncture, with time and the money and inclination, I decided to move to Germany. And I was in the city of Berlin, which is a beautiful city. And at the time, it was the capital. Then they switched it, and I think it's back as the capital now. Anyway, so I moved there because I was enchanted by the people, and I had been reading about the whole Nazi era for many, many years, all kinds of books, and so I knew about the terrible things that happened there. But in any event, I wanted to see what it was like. And I found that the people I met were very open to me. I had a wonderful welcome in Germany, in Berlin. Saw a lot of culture, went to the theater, did all kinds of things there. Went to the nightclub, had just a wonderful time and a high level experience because I was living right off of the Kurfürstendamm, which is kind of like the Fifth Avenue of Berlin. And so I was in a great spot. I could walk to everything. I had started learning German, which I'm fluent in German now, but I haven't practiced in a long time. So if you ask me something suddenly, I'd probably take a few minutes to think to answer you, but I decided to learn German. And people love it. If you go into their culture and they see you making effort in their language, they'll meet you halfway, or maybe even more than halfway. So I had a wonderful time. Actually, the Goethe Institute, which is probably the leading language academy there, gave me a scholarship Yeah, because they said, you're here and you want to stay here, we're going to make sure that it happens for you. So they gave me a scholarship, so I was able to learn better and easier. Then came love. Then I met a German man who was very nice, very quiet guy, and we got together. And he said that he wanted to move to Spain. And what was interesting, I had an astrological reading way beforehand, and the astrologer said that I would be living in Spain. So when I got to Germany, I contacted her. I said, well, I don't know what happened, but I'm in Germany. She said, well, you're not supposed to be there. You're supposed to be in Spain. So sure enough, he bought a farm, a big piece of land. It was really beautiful. It was prior owned by somebody who was a horticulturist. So there was a lot of plants and vegetables and fruit and so forth that was just naturally growing. So I had a wonderful time there for a number of years. And then at some point, I decided to come back to the United States, and I went to acupuncture school and finished that, and then went back to Spain actually. So I was in Spain more than one time. So those are the two main countries, and then of course I am wed to the United States. I'm an American, a dedicated American. Wonder where we are right now, what we're doing over there now, and I'm here now. But this is again because I've retired here.
Okay, you all, we have to cut this one short. There will be a part 3, okay? And I hope you're enjoying this. I'm going to ask you to please subscribe. Comments are always welcome.